Twisters hits theaters this weekend. Will it take you to the summer movie extreme, or does it enter the movie suck zone? I'll tell you right now. This video is brought to you by Factor. Go to factormeals.com/Murrell50 for a special offer, and stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell, and welcome to my review of Twisters, the sequel to Twister, which is the latest blockbuster to hit theaters. Twisters is directed by Lee Isaac Chung, whose last film, Minari, was a multi-Oscar nominated and winning indie movie about a South Korean family adjusting to farm life in Arkansas. Lee Isaac Chung may seem like an odd choice to direct Twisters, going from such a small indie to a big studio tornado movie, but when you consider the fact that Minari was an autobiographical film and that he really did grow up in Arkansas in the heart of Tornado Alley, then I think it makes a lot more sense because he's able to bring a regional awareness to this movie and an experience that I think adds to the authenticity of the film. Daisy Edgar-Jones, who's building an impressive early film resume, plays Kate Cooper, a scientist and former storm chaser who's called back into the field by her friend Javi, played by Anthony Ramos, to help perfect new technology that could predict tornadoes and save lives. As Oklahoma experiences a tornado outbreak, Kate meets Tyler Owens, played by Glen Powell, a rough-and-tumble YouTube celebrity storm chaser whose rowdy crew is the complete opposite of Kate and Javi's corporate operation.
Tell the folks how you feeling.
I'm feeling pretty good, Boone. And if you feel it, I said if you feel it, be safe.
Given that this is set up as a clash of ideologies between a somewhat amateur but rowdy and passionate group of storm chasers versus a cold, clinical corporate team, I think it's fair to say that there's more to both of these groups than meets the eye. Of course, most of that fades into the background in the face of multiple very big tornadoes that threaten everything in their paths, including our main characters. Now, I feel like I have to disclose coming into this review that I love the original Twister. It came out in the summer of 1996. I was 13 years old, and this was at the dawn of CGI and blockbusters being able to show us things in ways that we had never seen before. This is the same summer that Mission Impossible came out, the same summer that Independence Day came out, and I was totally, no pun intended, blown away by Twister and the way that it could show tornadoes in a way that I'd never seen on screen before. But I don't just love the original Twister because of its special effects, it also has a charm to it. It is so patently absurd, and yet it is about a group of people who ultimately are driven by the desire to help other people. The characters themselves are so broad and so melodramatic, and yet they're played by actors who know exactly how to nail that tone with earnestness and full commitment. They win you over because you like them. Twister, in my mind, is melodrama, but done right. The characters and the situations are so broad, and yet the cast is able to bring such enthusiasm and specificity and believability to the roles that they're playing that you can't help but like them. I mention all these things because everything that applies to Twister, I think also applies to Twisters. So if you don't like Twister because you think it's too ridiculous and corny and all that stuff, then I don't think that you're really going to like Twisters. But if you do like Twister because it's so over the top and because you do still love the characters, then I think that you are going to enjoy this movie. And because I like Twister so much, I also really enjoy Twisters. Glen Powell and Daisy Edgar-Jones are the anchors here, and they bring real compassion to their roles. Daisy Edgar-Jones has the harder job as essentially the straight man of the movie, whose mind is weighed down by some failures in her past, and who has to overcome all of that to remember why it's so important to continue her work. Glen Powell gets the role of the charmer, and I've said it before, this guy just has movie star charisma. He reminds me so much of Matthew McConaughey in that he has effortless charm, but he's also able to radiate sincerity when needed. Despite Tyler's obvious ego and his crazy antics, you never really dislike him, and as you learn more about him as the movie unfolds, you begin to actually like him more and more. And Daisy Edgar-Jones and Glen Powell, I think, had great chemistry, and much like with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, that chemistry is key to the film working. As with the original film, they're surrounded by a talented supporting cast, including Ramos, Brandon Perea, Katie O'Brien, Sasha Lane, and future Superman David Cornsweet. And while this is what you might call a legacy sequel, including numerous direct and indirect references to the first film, there are no returning cast members from Twister. Although there is one role in the movie that I think was pretty obviously earmarked for a returning cast member who didn't return for some reason or other. And it's not like the role is an awkward fit. They didn't recast anybody. They're able to reshuffle it so that this character makes sense in the context of the movie. But it just feels like the screenwriters crossed their fingers and said, okay, I hope this actor says yes and comes back to do this part. And they didn't. They got a really good actor to come in and play the part. But it felt a little bit like the end of Mary Poppins Returns, if you remember that movie. Not many people do. But near the end of the movie, they're out in the park and there's an old lady on a bench, and it's Angela Lansbury. And hey, I love Angela Lansbury. Rest in peace. She's great. It's always great to see her on screen or when she used to pop up in a movie or a TV show. But in the back of my head, I was also thinking that was definitely supposed to be Julie Andrews, and she had to go voice the Kraken in Aquaman or something, I think. So it's great to have a good actor in that role. But at the same time, I think you can acknowledge that I don't believe they were the first choice to play that part. But to a large degree, the stars aren't the stars of this movie. The tornadoes are, and I was impressed by the mix of practical and visual effects in Twisters. It's tempting to let the computers take over for large-scale destruction, but there's a nice blend here between practical and computer effects that helps to heighten the reality. I get nervous when I see an indie director jump from small movie to big movie like this, because a lot of times, and I've said this before, the studios just want somebody to sit in the chair and let the visual effects artist take over. But it seems pretty obvious to me that Lee Isaac Chung actually had a lot to bring to the table, that he was allowed to bring to the table. And I think this is a really well-directed film, both as far as the action sequences go and as far as the actors go. And I think it proves that Lee Isaac Chung is a director who can also direct big movies in addition to those smaller movies. They didn't want to just sign a hot award-winning name to help sell the movie. It helps, as I mentioned before, that Lee Isaac Chung is familiar with both the subject matter and the region that the movie takes place in. Tornadoes are a yearly threat in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and elsewhere, and Chung is able to capture that dread as well as the sense of community that immediately takes hold in the aftermath. My hometown was hit by a tornado last year. My best friend's town was hit by a tornado this year. And in both cases, the first instinct for so many people is to help. And it's really something that helps to boost your own spirit, especially a lot of times now when you look around and wonder if that still exists in the world. It really does. And it's sad that disaster is what it takes to bring that out. But this movie is infused by that spirit. And I really do think that Lee Isaac Chung's experience in the region and experience with tornadoes is what helped to make that feel real. I've seen that spirit in action, and it did feel real for me in a way that may not hit as hard for people that haven't been through something like this or know people that have gone through something like this. Tyler and his crew are also from Arkansas, and as somebody who's from Arkansas, who currently lives in Arkansas, I also appreciate that the movie presented a group of Arkansans who aren't idiot, backwoods, redneck hillbillies and everything else that people from Arkansas are almost always presented as in movies and television. This part of the country, as is the case everywhere, has all kinds of people living in it. And it's nice to see some Arkansans who are capable, intelligent, and compassionate while maintaining the, let's say, reckless enthusiasm that the South is often known for. This is another example of why it's important to bring in people like Lee Isaac Chung and Glen Powell, who know the region, who grew up in the region, and who can accurately bring a picture of the people who really exist in that region to the big screen. Is Twisters a perfect movie? No. It is not. It has most of the flaws that the original had, and as talented as the cast is, it's hard to match Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Alan Ruck and Lois Smith and Carrie Owes and everybody else that was in the original movie. I think Twisters is also weighed down by a lot of similarities to the original film. It was obvious that they didn't really want to mess with the formula, and I think they might have stayed a little too close in a couple places, but it's still a very talented cast, and I still liked these characters. And really, I just had a hell of a lot of fun with this movie. This is going to be my counter argument to people, and there are many of them who say that I personally can't enjoy a movie that's just big dumb fun. Twisters is big dumb fun, as is the original movie, but it also understands that you can be a movie like this that is big dumb fun without insulting the audience's intelligence. Twisters is well acted, well directed. It delivers the tornado action you're looking for. It's able to be ridiculous without being completely unbelievable, and also, yes, is able to be big and dumb. I think it's a great summer movie if that's what you're looking for, and if you like the original Twister, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So on my personal rating scale, I'm giving Twisters a rating of it's good. The 4-quadrant movie is something that is often referred to when talking about movie performance and marketing, meaning a movie that will deliver for basically everybody. I think Twisters is one of those movies. I think that pretty much any part of the country, any kind of person, any kind of background, this is just one of those movies that's fun and enjoyable. Is it one of the best movies of the year? No, but it's a great time to spend a couple of hours in the theater, especially during this long, hot summer. So those are my thoughts on Twisters. What do you think? Are you going to be heading to theaters to see it? Let me know down in the comments below. And before we go, I want to thank the sponsor for this review, Factor. If you're like me, you prefer to spend your time in the summer outside, at the movies, hanging out with friends, or planning that summer vacation. Basically anywhere but in the kitchen making food. Summer's also the best time to make sure you're meeting your wellness goals to keep that pool bod in top shape. And Factor is here to help you make the best of your summer. Factor provides no mess, no prep meals, thanks to chef-crafted options that you get to pick each and every week. And their meals are fresh, never frozen, and cater to your needs with meals like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more available. These dietitian-approved meals are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. In fact, your Factor meal would almost be ready to eat by the time this ad is over. With Factor, you always have plenty of time for summer and good food. And when I say good food, I mean options containing restaurant quality ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Factor has 35 different meals to choose from, plus more than 60 add-ons that will cover your needs from breakfast to that after-dinner dessert. No shopping, no prepping, no cooking, and no cleaning. No matter what you need in your diet, Factor has you covered. Head to factormeals.com/Murrell50 and use code Murrell50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code Murrell50 at factormeals.com/Murrell50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this review, and thank you for watching. Be sure to stay tuned right here on the channel. I have a lot more movie news, reviews, box office, and more coming up. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.